So does the class struggle to civilize capitalism's treatment of its workers.
Hang on, I have a question for Autumn. Autumn, who is a socialist, and we're all being nice to Autumn because she's very politely. I'm assuming her pronouns are she. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I do respect the pronouns and all that stuff. But like Autumn is a socialist. Occasionally, we get socialists joining us for Socialism Saturday. She's being very nice and polite. She's answering questions. I want everyone to be nice, okay? But Autumn says it's better for the government to have access for wealth and resources as they can distribute them more fairly. Capitalism prioritizes a few at the top rather than the majority. Autumn, why do you trust the government to do anything fairly? Has the government ever done anything fairly in the history of governments existing? Why are we trusting the government as the ultimate arbiter? If the government is systemically racist and is littered with systemic racism, then why would we trust the government to redistribute the resources to the most marginalized and oppressed? Do you see where I'm going with this? Hang on, Autumn has answered. Thank you, Autumn. The government's job is to provide public services to its citizens. Certainly, I wouldn't trust a conservative government to do that, but okay, but that doesn't even make sense, Autumn, because I can point you to many, many examples of a non-conservative government that has unequally distributed resources to citizens, most of the time dedicating them to, like, war. I mean, there are certainly conservatives, and just so we're clear, I'm not a conservative, I'm an anarchist. So, I am for the elimination of all government. But I think it's a little bit, unrealistic to say that the only governments in the world who have unequally distributed resources are conservative governments. I think we can all think of a multitude of examples in which liberal and democrat governments have unequally distributed resources. And those politicians have behaved in nefarious ways in which they're completely and totally corrupt. Now, to be very clear, I think both sides are corrupt. I think both sides are part of an establishment that will do whatever they can to keep a populist uprising down. So I don't think that conservatives are any more corrupt or less corrupt than Democrats. I think they're all corrupt because I think they're all the same party. But I don't understand why we're trusting political parties who the only reason that political parties even exist is to get people elected in order to feed their interests through the government purse. Peter says every government in history tends towards cronyism and corruption. The more power and control the government has, the faster it happens. That's exactly right. And that's true of conservative and liberal. They're all corrupt. They're all the same. And quite frankly, I don't trust socialists to do it any better because I've been watching Socialists for 8 months, no offense, Autumn, and they don't always seem like the most put together of people. You have to admit that. Like, a lot of socialists are crazy. Like legitimately. Like, these are people who spend all day in their houses and they read a lot of books, and there's nothing wrong with reading books, but like they're reading books from extremist authors who are giving them very specific ideas about how the world works, and they become crazy from it. Let me see. Thank you for the super chat, King Peter. I appreciate it. Autumn says, I hate conservative and neoliberal governments too. Well, look, hey, already got some areas that we overlap. I'm further left of both of them, but if you're worried about corruption, leaving it up to private entities is an even worse idea. Well, no, it's not a worse idea, Autumn, because I don't have to interact with private entities. I have to interact with the government. I know that because I had to send the government several $1,000s a couple weeks ago. I have to interact with the government. I can choose not to interact with private entities. There is no private entity in this universe that I am forced to interact with. Those are voluntary associations based on, a mutual interest. Like, if I want something out of your store, I'm going to go to the store, I'm going to pay you money for that thing, you're going to give me the thing, and I'm going to leave. Like, that is a voluntary interaction. If I need a job from a private company, I'm going to say, here's what I can do for you, and here is how much I want you to pay me. And they either say yes or no. And, it's a completely voluntary interaction. I don't need to do anything. In fact, it's in my best interest oftentimes to avoid places that I have no desire to interact with at all. But the government, I have no choice about that, because if I don't do things like pay taxes, they're going to come to my house with guns and try to arrest me. So what's going to happen when our perfect socialist government decides that they really don't like people like me saying, I think you guys are corrupt and I don't like the way you're distributing resources. And they're like, too bad, give us all your money anyway, and give us your private property. And by the way, give us your house and give us your car and give us your kids, because they are making that argument, and give us your computers and give us and Karlyn, because you are abolishing all private property, you don't get to have computers or a webcam or internet anymore, because now the government owns everything and we don't like the things that you're saying, so you are compelled to give it to us. Do you see the problem here? Government is different from private entities except for one factor. They are legal monopolies with the exclusive control of violence and land. So Autumn, I would say, that I think that we have some things in common, in that I think that we both probably see inherent corruption. The difference between us is that you seem to trust government to be able to fix that inherent corruption, and I don't trust government, any government, whether it be conservative, liberal, socialist, some other made up thing. I don't trust any of them to fix the corruption, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. Shauna says the government has so much control, there are literally laws that forbid me from collecting rainwater. That's how selfish the government is. Rainwater. Yeah, there are laws that tell me I can't grow a plant or smoke a plant. Like, what the fuck? There are laws that tell me what I can and cannot do with my own body. That is a completely voluntary interaction. I mean, it makes no sense. The elites are all out to get us, not sure where the solutions are, but decentralized is a part of it. I agree with that, Eliz, quite a bit. Beth says big government is the problem. I think all government is the problem. All government is the problem. But I will settle for small. If I have to choose between big government and small government, I'll settle for small government right now. But eventually, I'd really like no government. That'd be pretty great. Jackie H says the first line to the Beatles' "The Taxman" song is, "Let me tell you how it's gonna be." Exactly. Exactly.